House Tyrell, the wealthiest, most charming family in Westeros. They ruled Highgarden with elegance and strategy, using charm, wit, and gold to stay at the top. But in real life, there was a family just as powerful, using their wealth to control not only a kingdom, but the entire Renaissance world. Meet the Medici, the bankers who ruled Florence with charm, power, and political maneuvering. Today, we'll compare House Tyrell and the Medici, two families who played the Game of Thrones with subtlety and finesse. From secret alliances to clever manipulations, the Tyrells and the Medicis knew that winning isn't always about brute strength. Sometimes, charm and gold are more powerful than swords. House Tyrell's charm versus the Medici's banking power. House Tyrell ruled the Reach with elegance and wealth. They controlled the richest lands in Westeros, and while other houses fought wars, the Tyrells cultivated their power with subtlety. But in Renaissance Italy, the Medici family did something similar. They used their immense wealth to influence politics, arts, and religion without lifting a sword. The Tyrells ensured loyalty through marriages and alliances, but the Medici had their own version of "we do not so." They built their power through banking. As the wealthiest family in Florence, the Medici controlled Europe's most important financial institutions, lending money to kings, popes, and empires. Their gold bought them power, just as the Tyrells' riches made them indispensable to the Iron Throne. While the Tyrells used wealth to buy loyalty in Westeros, the Medicis did the same in real life. They didn't need armies. They controlled politics with gold and alliances, maneuvering their way to the top of Italian society, just like the Tyrells maneuvered through King's Landing. Lady Olenna Tyrell versus Lorenzo de' Medici, the masterminds. Now let's talk about the masterminds behind both families. Lady Olenna Tyrell and Lorenzo de' Medici. Lady Olenna, the Queen of Thorns, was the true power behind House Tyrell. She was known for her sharp wit and ruthless cunning. Much like Lady Olenna, Lorenzo de' Medici was the driving force behind the Medici dynasty. Lorenzo wasn't just a banker. He was a statesman, a patron of the arts, and a master of diplomacy. While Lady Olenna worked her magic in the gardens of Highgarden, Lorenzo controlled Florence with charm and strategy, keeping enemies at bay through clever alliances and subtle political plays. But where Olenna was sharp and direct, Lorenzo was a smooth operator. He didn't use poison. He used diplomacy, marriage alliances, and economic leverage to keep Florence in his family's hands. Under Lorenzo's leadership, the Medici became the most powerful family in Europe, much like how Olenna ensured the Tyrells' survival in a dangerous political landscape. Both figures understood that power wasn't always about brute force. It was about intelligence, charm, and knowing when to strike. Marguerite Tyrell versus the Medici women. Charm and influence. Next, let's talk about the women of these families. Marguerite Tyrell and the powerful Medici women. Marguerite was a master of charm and diplomacy, using her beauty and wit to marry her way into the Iron Throne. But in Renaissance Europe, the Medici women played a similar role. They used marriages to build alliances, not just in Italy, but across Europe. Catherine de' Medici, for example, was married into the French royal family and became one of the most powerful women in Europe. Much like Marguerite, she knew how to play the Game of Thrones, building alliances, charming courtiers, and subtly controlling the politics of her adopted country. Marguerite's strength was her ability to connect with the people of Westeros, and Catherine's strength was her ability to influence the kings of France. Both women understood that power wasn't just about thrones and crowns. It was about relationships and influence. The Medici's control of the papacy versus the Tyrells' control of Westeros' food supply. The Tyrells held a unique power in Westeros. They controlled the food supply of the Seven Kingdoms. Just like the Tyrells used their fertile lands to influence the Iron Throne, the Medici family used their wealth and influence to control the papacy. By funding the Catholic Church, the Medici placed multiple family members in key church positions, even producing a few popes of their own. For the Tyrells, controlling food was the key to their survival, making them indispensable to the throne. For the Medici, controlling the church gave them power over the spiritual and political lives of millions across Europe. Both families understood that control over vital resources, whether it's food or religion, was the ultimate power play. Whether they were feeding a kingdom or guiding a papacy, the Tyrells and the Medici used their resources wisely to become irreplaceable in their worlds. The fall of the Tyrells and the Medici. But even the wealthiest and most powerful families can fall. House Tyrell, despite their charm and wealth, met their end when Cersei Lannister ordered the destruction of Highgarden. The Medici, too, faced their downfall. While they maintained influence for centuries, political rivals and financial missteps eventually weakened their hold over Florence and Italy. Lady Olenna's final act of defiance, confessing to Joffrey's murder, echoes the Medici's struggle to hold on to their legacy. Both families fought until the bitter end, but in the world of politics, even charm, wealth, and influence have their limits. House Tyrell and the Medici, two families that built their empires through wealth, charm, and political genius. But in the Game of Thrones, no one is untouchable. What do you think? Did the Tyrells or the Medici play the game better? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more epic comparisons of Game of Thrones and real history. Thanks for watching.